Bill for more, Denny, Thompson, Pastor Joby, Martin, Chad Muma, I guess linebacker for the Colts now instead of the Jags. When we originally booked this, it was the Jags fans, but
Then
now
he
it's
went
the
to
Colts.
the enemy.
He did. Run us through that whole process for a second. Chad, how you doing, first off?
Doing great. First off, thank you for having me on. Super excited to be here today. And second off, part of the AFC South division rival. So excited to be over here now for someone that actually wants me on the team and whatnot.
Well,
You get to play in the air conditioning now, don't you?
Yeah, I get to play in the air conditioning. They got the roof that they can open up. They opened up that.
You're gonna be
week
so
one,
soft,
get
bro.
the
You're
sunlight a
gonna
little bit.
have to.
I know.
You're gonna become a corner.
I'm gonna lose that. I'm gonna lose that Jacksonville humidity summer training camp. Toughness that it builds in you, ingrains in you.
that stadium up there is so nice, though. Like, it's like a timeless stadium, brick. Like it's just nice up there. Maybe it's too nice up there.
Right. No, it's definitely nice. I will say that Jacksonville had the nicer facilities with them building them 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's all very similar. At the end of the day, you got your weight room, your training room, and meal room, and all that.
Well, walk us through what happens when you switch teams like that, just to start off. So you're here in Jacksonville. You get drafted here in Jacksonville, planning on playing the 2025 season here in Jacksonville, and then all of a sudden there's a change of plans. Walk us through the days leading up to that, and then what actually happens in the NFL when you switch teams like that. What all goes into that?
Yeah, man. So, like you said, I was in Jacksonville for the last 3 years of my career, and, kind of going into this year, felt myself as a solidified special teamers, felt good in my position through, OTAs and training camp. And, I was getting lots of reps with the second team on defense. And it wasn't really until I got into that last preseason week when I started noticing, a few things. And, the first thing that I really noticed is they put another linebacker behind me in all the special teams depth chart. So I was still, sitting there starting, but then I noticed that, that linebacker was right behind me in punt return, kickoff and kick return. And so that was the first thing I kind of noticed. I was like, all right, that's interesting, because he's, a guy that they just drafted, slated to, play some this year. And then it was that last preseason game where they're like, hey, you're going to be playing this whole game. And whenever that happened, I'm like, all right, they're getting ready to, ship me on out of here. And I'm going to have to figure some things out. And so comes the final cut day, that Tuesday or whatever. And they give you're supposed to be in the building at 11 o'clock for a workout. And so you're sleeping in a little bit and you get a call. And it's right at like 7 a.m. And they're like, hey, we need you to come in right now. Hate to be the one to tell you, bring your iPad, like come in. And at that moment, okay, I'm getting released. I'm getting waived by the team, so I'm not going to be here any longer. So you first get to the facilities and you walk in. It's interesting how they do it. You walk into this room with all these guys that are being cut. There's 14 other guys sitting in this room, and you just look around, you're like, what's up, guys? Like, hey, we're going to be all right. Daniel Thomas was another one that got released that day, and he came in just blaring worship music, and so that kind of lifted my spirit in that moment, which was really cool for him to be there. And then you kind of just work through, you talk to the GM, talk to the head coach, you talk to your position coaches, and you get feedback. And ultimately they said it's a hard decision to make, but it's the decision that we're going to make today. We're going to release you, and gosh, that next 24 hours is just a whirlwind of, what could happen, where you could end up. And it definitely felt very similar to how the draft felt, where you could go to any team. You just know that you're not going to Jacksonville, I'll say that. And so with being waived like that, other teams have 24 hours to claim you. And if multiple teams claim you, it's the team that has the worst record. So basically draft order from that previous year. They have it goes in that order, and whoever picks you in that order gets to have you first. And so that next day about 1 o'clock is kind of when things were wiring down, and you have lots of teams call you and ask if you're interested, and they're interested in you and potential practice squads elsewhere. But then, my agent called me right at like that 12:55 mark, and he's like, all right, you ready to know where you're going? Kind of like it's draft night again, and he's all excited about it. And ended up being Indianapolis Colts. And man, they shipped me on out of Jacksonville that night, got on a plane, my wife and I, and we were in Indianapolis from there, and just thrown into it, learning the whole new defense, learning a whole new special teams and all that.
How did you tell your wife? Tell me about that.
Oh man, that was probably the hardest call that I had to make. She went out. She's a early morning riser, so she was working out that morning, so she wasn't even home when I got the call. So I gave her a call, and it was something that I prepared her for a little bit, just seeing the depth chart moves. But had a little stuck in my throat talking to her that first moment, just being like, hey, I'm going in the facilities, they're cutting me right now. And she's been the best. She's been so supportive. She runs everything at our house. She helped us with all the moving stuff, and found this nice apartment over here in Indianapolis. So I wouldn't be able to do it without her. But she definitely runs the ship and helps me out a lot with all that.
That's such a good question about you though, Joby, because I just thinking about that, like if something happens to you, like I know you're going to be fine. Yeah, but what would suck is like you got to tell Gretchen, like you know what I mean?
Well, especially if you're in the NFL, you were the best in high school, right? I mean, unless you went to some weird high school, I mean, you were like the jam, right?
Right.
And then where'd you play in college? I should know this.
Wyoming.
I went to Wyoming.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Denver, Colorado.
So you go to Wyoming, and then you go to the Jags, play multiple years. I mean, you were only used to being the best of the best.
Well, and he got drafted. Right. What were you, like 70th overall? Yeah, third round.
70th overall.
70th overall from Wyoming.
Yep.
Did I see a club? Are you playing with a club right now?
No, I don't have the club anymore. So, no, that was me. I had surgery on my finger in OTAs because I tore a ligament, a tendon in there, and so I had to wear the club all of training camp.
All right, see, I'll pay attention. I met Chad at practice. JP and I went to practice.
Okay.
And he just runs up and says hi, and I'm like, "What's up?" Because I don't. And then but my son knows. He's like, "Dad, that was Muma." I'm like, "Are you serious? How come y'all don't come introduce yourselves to me at church?" I mean,
I know it's because every time we could leave service, you got a line of about 20 people there, and you know what? And we're like, you know what? We'll catch them one of these times.
We're gonna make a new rule.
Thankful to be able
Jags
to
get to just like come say hey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a separate area.
Something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to worry about that for a little while for Sundays.
Yeah, that's true. They're kind of busy.
Right.
A little bit busy.
Got Thursday nights.
Yeah. There you go. That is such like an interesting dynamic of you're in one place. There's not many jobs that just move cities in 24 hours,
right? With
no advance notice. That's got to be such a weird feeling, man. I don't know. Like, can you even be prepared for that? Can somebody really talk you through how that goes? Like, I mean, or is it just you kind of have to get through it?
You can't be prepared for it unless you've been through it before. I mean, being in the NFL, you see guys that come to the team, and you see guys that go through similar situations of what I went through, and even then, you somewhat experience what they're doing, but you have no idea until you go through it yourself. And that was such a there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of things that you don't know what's going to happen. And one of the things that I thought was cool that day, regardless of everything else that was happening, I looked down I have the little Bible app on my phone, and the verse of the day was Isaiah 26:4, and it just said, "Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the rock eternal." And that just gave me so much perspective that day of just knowing that, I'm just going to continue to trust in the Lord's plan, whatever it is for me, whether I'm here in Jacksonville or Indianapolis, whatever it is. At the end of the day, I'm healthy, I'm good, and I'm going to trust in the Lord's plan. So I think that gave me some clarity moving forward as well.
And you got a good marriage. I mean, honest to goodness, even every kid's dream that played football would be to play in the NFL. But I've been married to Gretchen for 25 years, and obviously I would take her every single time over anything the NFL could offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk about that. Talk about your wife, and you were telling us how long y'all have been together. Just talk about that for a minute. Yeah,
no, my wife is great. We originally met back in middle school. She was dating middle school dating one of my best friends at the time, and she just moved there from Texas. Her dad was in the military, so she moved around a bunch as a kid. She lived in Arkansas, Texas, Chicago, and then ended up in Colorado come middle school. So we met that way in a little Cimarron middle school hallway. But it wasn't until that freshman year that we had a class together, started talking, flirting with one another, little freshmen in high school. And we ended up starting to date right then. And, we just continued dating ever since. And we did the whole long distance in college. She went to Creighton University while I went to Wyoming. And, with that, we were just on FaceTime all the time. After I was done with practice and whatnot, she's hopping on FaceTime, supporting me, coming out to games. And then whenever I got drafted out to Jacksonville, she followed me on out here to Jacksonville. And gosh, I want to say a year later, we got engaged down in St. Augustine and then married in Colorado last year. And so been married for a year now. But like I was saying earlier, she's the best, and she, helps run so many different aspects of my life. We have a foundation called the Muma Movement Foundation that she runs completely. It's for kids with type 1 diabetes, and she's helped out a ton there with our camps each year, and so many different aspects of my life that she's truly just like the rock of everything, and I wouldn't be able to do it all without her.
I saw that earlier. So you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes were you high school?
I was in middle school, so I was diagnosed when I was 13 years old, yeah.
Okay, kind of walk us through what for those that don't know, what does that look like in the life of an athlete?
Yeah, man. So, gosh, I'll go back to when I was first diagnosed. When I was, you're going through all the symptoms of having type 1 diabetes. And for those that don't know, it's, you're drinking tons and tons of water. There was moments where I was going up to the fridge and drinking almost a gallon of water just because you're that thirsty. And it's just an unquenchable thirst that you just constantly have. From that, you're always going to the bathroom, always tired. And I actually ended up losing 30 pounds at the same time as a 13-year-old. And I didn't have 30 pounds to lose. I was light. I was skinny. And it's just one of those things that I didn't want to say anything because I was like, what? I'm an athlete. I'm going through puberty right now. This is what puberty is. I had no idea that it was, a diabetes diagnosis on the way. And I was fortunate enough to that, I was over at my friend's house, and the mom there had some prior knowledge of type 1 diabetes and kind of knew the signs to look for. And we were eating dinner with her, and I probably had like 5 glasses of milk while we were just sitting there eating dinner. Almost went through a whole gallon at her house. And that's when she was able to talk with, my parents a little bit and say, hey, I think, Chad's showing some signs of type 1 diabetes. So I was fortunate enough to, catch it early on and not go through what most kids go through of being in the ICU for a week and, battling for their life a little bit. And, I was very fortunate in that case. And, but it was scary at first when I was first diagnosed. I didn't know I was an athlete. I was playing, all these different things. I was playing football, basketball, baseball at the time. And, I thought, this type 1 diabetes, I'm not going to be able to, play, these sports anymore, be active like that, like I was. And, you quickly learn that's not the case. And my first little search on Google was NFL players with type 1 diabetes. And I was a big fan of the Broncos at the time, and Jay Cutler's name came up. He was diagnosed when he was in Denver with the Broncos. And, that's when I learned, okay, if he's able to do it, then I'm going to be able to do it. And I've kind of held that same mindset and, taken it to each level. And as a kid, it was always a goal of mine to play, college football because my dad had played college football, my grandpa had played college football, and, that's what I really wanted to do. And so I just took the mindset that, I have to be on top of it. I have to manage it so well, and I have to do all these things to set myself up for success because other people don't have to do this. So, if they don't have to, I have to be even better than that. And I have to, work at it even harder and make sure that I'm managing my diabetes the best I can so I'm not limited because of it.
What, 30 pounds in middle school? Like, what did you weigh?
Yeah. Oh, man. In middle school, I had to weigh around 110 pounds.
After you lost the 30?
After I lost the 30, yeah.
Wow. That'd be scary. I mean, middle school, 30 pounds? Like, that's 20-something% of your body weight.
Yeah.
How quickly do you lose that? Like, how quickly
Gosh, I probably went through those symptoms. Yeah, I went through those symptoms for probably 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, I lost 30 pounds. It happens quick.
Wow, that is scary. Yeah.
Well, apparently you put it back on in order to get recruited by Wyoming, huh?
No, you had to. Yeah, I had to really fast.
Well, you had other offers, right?
Yeah. So coming, in my sophomore year, playing football and whatnot. Had a successful sophomore season, was doing really good things, and Colorado State was my first little college offer, and receiving that call was amazing, and it was almost felt like a dream come true that teams were interested in having me play college football. So got the offer there. Then the other Mountain West offers kind of followed suit. My junior year, I got offers from Wyoming, Nevada, Hawaii, Montana State, and some Ivy League schools. And going through the whole recruiting process, I was really big on between Wyoming and Colorado State. And really what happened my junior year is I partially tore my patella tendon playing basketball. And so I had to get surgery on that. And with that, Colorado State came back and they said, hey, we don't want to honor the offer anymore. We're going to pull your offer. And at the same time, Wyoming still really loved me, still really wanted me. And so then that's kind of, when I came back from that injury and was playing, and that's when I committed to Wyoming, just because they always had that love and support for me.
And then you have a family history at Wyoming, I think I saw as well, right? Both dad and grandfather father there?
Oh, yeah. So both of them. So my mom's dad, he played college football back in, 1960s, playing a fullback at Wyoming. And then my dad played college football there back in the 90s, playing safety for the 5 years out there. And so a little legacy out there.
I was reading about this. First off, his high school was named Legend High School. It's a great high school name.
Legend High School.
Legend High School. But it says during your junior year, you broke your clavicle. And then your senior year, you were second team All-State after finishing the season, 77 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, despite missing half the games due to a 70% torn, was it patella?
Patella tendon, yes.
Bro, battling, man, from a young age.
Oh, always. I've always kind of, been battling, through stuff, and, maybe it's been people doubting me, or, the diabetes, or battling through injury. It's just always been that thing that kind of motivates me to, keep going and keep proving people wrong.
And what age were you when you got serious about your faith and your walk with God?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Talking about my childhood a little bit, growing up, I grew up in a Catholic family, and, I was going to mass, and, my family was the type of family that we'd be good for 2 months at a time. We go to mass every weekend for 2 months, and then we wouldn't go until Christmas or until Easter, and then we would restart that 2 month up again, and then we wouldn't go for a long time. And so that was kind of my faith growing up. And I had always believed in Jesus Christ, but to the extent of everything that he had done for our sin, and the full grasp of it, I feel like it truly didn't hit me until I got to Jacksonville. I mean, to start off in high school, I was, like I said, we were behind in everything with the Catholicism and, going to masses. And so I wasn't confirmed in the Catholic Church until I was 18 years old. And I was in this class with my siblings who were 3 years younger than me. And they were old for the class. It was a class for middle schoolers. I mean, these kids were 12 years old. I was older than the youth leaders in the group. So there's this funny picture of me standing there, and I'm in the back just towering over these kids. But it's kind of, I feel like in high school was kind of when I took that first step in my faith of being serious about it and trying to do more on my own, regardless of my family. And then when I got to college, I was very similar to that, where I was going to mass. I was going to St. Paul's Newman Center. It was right next to the Wyoming campus, and kept going to mass out there. And I was really stuck on my Catholicism is the way it's supposed to be. This is the correct religion to follow, and that's really what I was stuck into. You're like, oh, Peter was the first pope, and he wasn't even, like, that wasn't even a thing back then. And you think of all these things, and I truly, like, looking back at my time in Jacksonville, I'm just super thankful for my wife, first off, of helping me get go out to 1122 and trying something different other than mass. And I'm just thankful for God putting me there. I truly mean it's to go to 1122, and I've my first experience out there, that's when I fully kind of grasp the idea that before I was struggling with so much with, all right, I have Jesus. He died on the cross for my sins, but I also have to go to the priest for confession. It's Jesus, and I have to do all this other stuff. And, going to 11:22 and hearing, Joby speak on that message, it just blew my mind open. And I was like, man, it's not Jesus and it's just Jesus. And this is all I need. And he's everything that I need. And he already did it to Tetelestai. It is finished. My wife, she loves your tattoo. She has Tetelestai, the same exact tattoo on her forearm, Tetelestai. It is finished. And I think that was such a pivotal moment in my faith of, realizing that I don't have to do all this extra stuff to, have that relationship with Jesus, and, being at 11:22 and discovering, deepening my relationship with God has been just amazing. And I think about all the time that I spent in Jacksonville. If there's a reason I was spent to Jacksonville, is to go to 11:22 and discover and deepen my relationship.
That's awesome.
What was it like first time walking in? Because it's not very Catholic.
Oh, it's not. And that was such a hard thing for me to get over.
I don't even think I own a robe. I own a bathrobe.
Right.
You own a bathrobe? Hold on.
I think we took it from a hotel probably. We sinned. Even the one I have is covered in sin.
Okay. All right. Do you own a bathrobe?
I got one sent to me for free.
See?
Okay. So I do have a bathrobe.
NFL gets whatever they
want. Okay. Well, I do not own a bathrobe.
They just send us stuff. All the stuff I have is free.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but when Joby said he owns a bathrobe, that was shocking.
Yeah, so what was it like first time in? I mean, it's dark and there's light show and band.
It was an experience. I literally left there thinking like, oh, this is like a Christian rock band. That's how it felt.
It is.
Because in a Catholic mass, it is so quiet. You go in there, you don't say anything. You don't say amen. You go up there, you recite everything back and forth. That's the only time you're allowed to talk, and you're quiet up and down on your knees, and it's just so different from anything I experienced. And at first, I was so uncomfortable, and it's funny looking back, thinking about how uncomfortable I was. But it was just like it was just different from how I was used to being quiet in prayer, and having that type of style versus going to 11:22 and hearing gospel music and having the whole rock band out there. Now I love it. But when people had their hands up, I was like, what is happening? People are saying amen during the sermon, and I'm like, this is totally different from what I'm used to. But I mean, the message just hit home, and I think the thing that I love the most about 11:22 is just almost like the Bible study aspect of it, of where I was actually learning, everything out straight from the Bible. It's all straight from the Bible, and you talk about that all the time, but it's straight from the Bible. And I think in the years that I was going to Catholic mass, they read something from the Old Testament, New Testament, something from the Gospel, and that's it. And it kind of, you hear it goes right over your head. You don't really understand the context, the historical context of anything, and you know the stories, but you don't really know the full depth of it. And in that first little time I went to 11:22, I learned more than I did in my 20 years of going to Catholic mass. And so that's something that it just blew me out the water. I was like, this is where I need to be every single week. And the fact that 11:22 had Thursday night services during season was huge too, because a couple guys on the team like Logan Cook, Brandon Sheriff, and Tyler Shatley, they were going out there. And so that's kind of how I got going to 11:22 at first.
Yeah, and I would encourage, regardless of what kind of denomination you grew up in or whatever, for those folks listening, just read the Bible for yourself and find a Bible teaching pastor that teaches it, and just dig in.
Right.
Don't just assume the traditions that you've been handed down, because somebody made those up, and some of them are good, some of them are not good. And so just see what it says for yourself.
I can remember, you don't say it as much anymore, but you used to say all the time about the hand raising, like, just stay here long enough.
Oh, it'll get on you.
Yeah, and I was with you, bro. Yeah, like now I was with you. I'm like, dude, this dude next to me is raising his hands while he's singing. What is wrong with him? And now it's like, I got to have both hands. Like, I can't just go one anymore. So, yeah, you're right. You definitely were right on that one. If you're coming to 11:22 and you aren't comfortable in that, just give it a couple months. You will be. You will be.
Just give it time, because I was the same, so uncomfortable, and now I'm out there raising my hands.
Of course. What do you do when you score a touchdown or when you get a pick six?
You raise your hands.
That's it, man. Let's go. We
celebrate. Come on.
That's awesome. Talk about like kind of you just growing up playing. The way you got to the NFL. Like you went from high school, you went to Wyoming. Were you an instant starter at Wyoming? Did you have to work your way through a depth chart? Like, walk us through the history of getting to the NFL.
Yeah, so we already touched on high school a little bit, and so I'll just go straight from college. When I first got to Wyoming, like I said before, as a kid, it was always a dream of mine to play in the NFL, but really, as I got older, it was a dream to play college football. I saw that, something that my dad was able to do, and I thought for myself, it's really attainable. I didn't know what college team I was going to play for, but I was thankful to be able to go to the Mountain West and play, college football at Wyoming. And so with that, in high school, I was an undersized kid. I wasn't anything, massive for a linebacker. Big? I was playing safety at the time. I was, 6'1", 180 pounds, playing safety.
You must be fast.
And I was decently fast, but I wasn't, SEC fast for anything like that.
Well, when did it hit you that you have what it takes to play big time Division I football and then get drafted? Like, that's a question I always have. Part of the reason I asked, Chad, is because this is funny. When I was in the 9th grade, I sat my dad down and I was like, Daddy, I need to have a conversation with you. He's like, what's up, bud? And I was like, this is serious now. Do you think I should focus on the MLB or the NFL? And he said, I think you should probably study, because there's no chance. And here I am.
Right.
So they weren't looking for me.
Yeah.
So when did you know? When were you like, oh my gosh? If you're getting recruited in your sophomore year.
Yeah, I think, I was starting my sophomore year in high school, and, I had a really good year, and I was believed in myself, and I always had my dad as that number one support to really push me in the right direction, take me out to those football camps in the summer, and with that you're able to kind of see the competition that you're going against and the age group and kind of where you're at. And I always was confident in my own abilities, and so I think that sophomore year I definitely could tell that college football is very attainable for me. It's something that if I don't get offered, I can go walk on somewhere and prove myself right.
That's cool.
But then with receiving those offers, it solidifies it in your confidence a little bit more that, okay, I am able to do this. Now, college is a big boy game, and it's a lot different from high school. You don't just have these guys that are going out for the team and then they don't even care. You got these guys that are all athletes out there. And so preparing to go out to college, I was trying to eat a ton, trying to gain this weight, working out every single day after high school, and just being in the gym and living in the gym so I could prepare myself for that freshman year. And so at the time, I didn't think, I had no idea what it took to become an NFL player. And when I first got to Wyoming, I was able to learn from a few guys of they were slotted to go to the NFL that next year. I mean, Andrew Wingard was one of those guys who's in Jacksonville now.
Dewey, you played with Dewey?
I played with Dewey out there. He was a senior when I was a freshman.
Did you see his sweet interception yesterday?
I did see that. I'm happy for him. It's awesome
we
to
all
see,
are.
Wild guys get that. And for him to be starting this year is awesome too.
I know. It makes me nervous.
He's been such a hard worker.
Don't tell him I said that.
Funny.
We love you, Dewey.
I won't say it. No, he's a good dude. Throw a little Dewey story for you. When I first got out to Wyoming, we're going through training camp, and I'll take it back even further. I was going out there on an official visit, and I somehow ended up at Dewey's house. Logan Wilson, who plays for Cincinnati Bengals, he was my person that was showing me around, and he was doing all that. So we ended up over there, and Dewey was messing around with Logan, and he was doing the thing where he's fake punching, and he ends up clocking Logan right in the nose.
Awesome.
And he's like looking at him like, what? Like, Logan's like the nicest guy ever, like, so he's not gonna fight back. He's like, why would you do that? Like, that's crazy. What the heck is going on? But that's just who Dewey's always been. He's always messing around, trying to start something up a little bit. And then my freshman year, going through training, or fall camp is what we call it back then, going through fall camp is It's a big thing to loaf, and you get freshmen in there. They have no idea what running to the ball is. And Dewey's on the sideline screaming at me to run to the ball. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I ran my 2 steps. It's practice right now. Why should I have to run to the ball right now? I ran my 2 steps. I'm good. And he's just yelling at me, getting after me. And that was the first time in college I was like, oh man, this is next level. You really gotta, be on your stuff to, make some plays and have an impact. But going back to, what I was saying before is after I was able to kind of learn from, Andrew Wingard and learn from Marcus Epps and Carl Granderson. Those were guys that were slotted to be, potentially drafted, but go to the NFL that next year. I saw the work ethic that it took them to get to the position that they were their senior years. I in my head, I was like, all right, this is attainable for me. If I really want to make it to the NFL and I see the work that they put in, I can put in that work to make it myself. And like I said before, I had Logan Wilson there who plays for Cincinnati now. And he was an older linebacker than me. There's 2 linebackers older, Cash Malawia and Logan Wilson. And they're a couple years older, both starters. Logan ended up getting drafted in the 3rd round. Cash got drafted in the 6th or 7th round. And so I had those great guys to learn in front of. And my freshman year, I was did all special teams, burned my red shirt on special teams. And then that second year, I was rotating in behind. Like if Logan needed a break, I'd go in there. If Cash needed a break, I'd go in there because both those guys were really good players in college. Both got drafted, so I was just learning off of those guys, how to be a linebacker, how to play, college football. And I learned a lot about their, leadership style. Learned how to, become a better vocal leader out there on the field. As a Mike linebacker, you're the quarterback of the defense. So you got to, talk and move everyone and get the communication out, the defense called, and, adjustments and everything. So I learned a lot through those guys. And then my junior year was the COVID year, and that was my first time, starting as a Mike linebacker, the only linebacker. And we only played, 6 games that season. So no teams were really, looking at that film saying, this is a guy that we want to pursue for the NFL for our team. And it really wasn't until that senior year that, leading into it, I had some interest from scouts. They were, pre-season, they were saying this is a guy that maybe undrafted, we could take this guy. You'll see where he's at during the season. And I had that conversation with my head coach that Craig Bull is before the season started. We were talking, and it was like, if you have a great year, I'm gonna tell you that you should leave. We're gonna have this conversation at the end of the year. Wherever you're slotted, if you want to stay another year, I'll support that. But I'll tell you if you should leave and leave this team to go pursue the NFL. And I ended up having a very successful senior year, made tons of tackles, had a couple of interceptions, couple pick sixes, and at the end of the year got together with my head coach again, and he had a great relationship with a bunch of different scouts in the NFL, and props to him for saying, hey, I think you had a successful year, I think you should leave, instead of being like, hey, I want you to stay here
no
and
doubt.
Be on my team for another year. So I'm super thankful for, Craig Bull to, kind of tell me that at the end of the year. And from there, got into draft prep. And at the end of the season, he's like, you know what? They're saying probably from rounds 4 to 5, around that range, 4 to 6. We'll see where you end up. And it was kind of through that combine training and going to the combine, showing good speed, showing my intelligence with my football intelligence with the teams that I was able to meet with, that kind of moved up the board a little bit, and then ended up getting drafted in the 3rd round.
So what do you play at now?
Weight wise?
Yeah.
Height, weight, yeah. So my height's about 6'2" and some change, 6'2", 6'3", and then I play right at 235.
And what was your 40?
What was my 40? It was a 4.63.
Yeah. I'm going to take you one year to the combine.
The underwear Olympics? I'd love to see
you have to go.
But you would love it
You
because
have to
it's
go.
literally 4 or 5 days where all anybody talks about is football. Like it just takes over Indy. Indy Stadium was built for the combine, literally.
Yes.
It's built for the combine.
No,
the city is perfect for the combine. Yeah, I'm going to take you one year. You would eat that up.
So, what's your best college football memory? One of those pick sixes?
That's a great question. I think it was my first pick six that I had in college. It was off of this RPO action, a run pass option that the quarterback had, and I was coming into my run fit. I was outside. I was in the D gap. I was outside fitter on the play. It was cover 3, and he was throwing a slant that was hitting out by the nickel, and just reacted to it, jumped up, and caught it right there, and just took off to the house. And that was my senior year, and to have that first pick six, it was a huge accomplishment of mine, just because the goal of going to the NFL, it just kind of kickstarted that. It was one of our first games that season, and just having the team be around me for that and celebrate with me was another huge part of that. And after that game, I never played with Josh Allen. He was there the year before me. But I was sitting on the bus, and guys are like, "Hey, Josh Allen tweeted at you," and I was like, "Whatever." Like, he doesn't know me. Like, you guys are just messing with me because I had a pick six today. And then lo and behold, look at it, and superstar Josh Allen had tweeted at me, and I was like, "Man, that is the coolest thing ever." And so, like, looking back on that was one of my favorite memories.
What about NFL? Do you have a favorite game memory?
NFL. Yeah, I mean, gosh, rookie year we got spoiled going to the playoffs, and between the Chargers game that we came back and won from, or the Titans game that sent us to the playoffs, just the camaraderie that we had in the locker room afterwards of winning those big games in those certain situations, the Titans game to go to the playoffs, and the packed crowd that we had there that night. And I think I had a TFL against Derrick Henry that night, so I was
local
really
boy,
good about myself. Right.
Dude, how do you tackle him? I see him in the gym, like when he's off season, he works out here, and then you just see him working out.
Yeah,
I'm not a small human.
No.
And then I walk up to that dude, and I'm just like, no wonder you stiff-armed 14 of our players at one time for a 109-yard touchdown.
Right. He is massive. He's a linebacker playing running back, and
he's still doing it.
He's freaky fast. Yeah, he's still doing it and still having so much success. And he's deceivingly fast. Like, you'd think, like, watching him on film, oh, he's not that fast. So you get out there and he's running by guys.
That guy, I remember seeing him like ninth grade here in Jacksonville. It's like, wait, ninth graders aren't supposed to look like that. I mean, he is just a massive human. Funny story, when we were doing Anthony Richardson's draft prep, we were trying to comp somebody for him, and we could not find anybody to comp for somebody that weighed 250 and was going to run 4.4. It ended up being Derrick Henry. Like, our athletic comp for Anthony ended up being Derrick Henry.
Also 100 yards.
Right. Just freak of athletes.
Is there listen, man, I don't know if I'm the best or the worst like podcast person when it comes to football, because I just like the fan questions, because
I love that.
Bro, all right, who's like the hardest person to tackle? Is there somebody
hardest
like in the NFL and you hit them and you think, oh no, this is going to be a long day? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a great question too. I think Derrick Henry's on that list just because if you get a running back that has that size who weighs just as much as you and can move that fast, I mean, it's force going against force. You can feel it. I think another one that has really good feet and is a really good running back in the NFL is Christian McCaffrey. He's another guy that, like, preparing for him, those two are just different from other running backs. And you have your superstar running backs elsewhere, but those two specifically are just so unique in their game and their ability to make plays happen.
That guy y'all got up there too, Jonathan Taylor, bro.
Yeah, he had a really good game this past weekend as well. He's been moving.
Dude, how about our boy Tootin here in town? That kid.
I know.
Yeah.
What the heck? Yeah, all right, one more totally couch question. Ready? I feel like if I was playing Mike linebacker and I'm in the box, no problem, right? I can just bash my head in the hole and do all the things. Sometimes I feel like we get caught in some kind of coverage, and there goes Mike running out to, like, cover somebody in wide open space. Do you ever get out there and be like, oh, please don't throw it to my guy. Please don't throw it to my guy.
Yeah, you have to close that space up. You get out there with
they're so fast.
Guy. they're so fast they can make a little out, and you gotta close space and just hope that the D line's running, that the other DBs are running. You hope that you have your help coming right now, because some of those guys can make some moves and they get paid too, and they're good at what they do. So,
but you know that, right? Like when you get the call from the sideline and you see that tight end jogging all the way out, and that's your guy in man coverage. Like you already know they designed that to get that matchup, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's times also where they know that you're going to be in a zone coverage, and they'll put a receiver at 2, and they know that a linebacker is going to be at 2, and that they're going to work a little option with a top paid wide receiver against a inside linebacker. And so you definitely know that you're going to have those matchups throughout the games, and so it's just one of those things of working it in practice and using your leverage. You just can't lose leverage in those situations.
Yeah, because there was they used to scheme that open with Gronk back with the Patriots.
Yeah.
And there was a Super Bowl. I think it was maybe Seattle. Maybe it was Bobby Wagner. I don't remember who it was, but they schemed him out. And I remember watching it going, well, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's got to be, talk about, like, that's a big difference in the college and the NFL game, though. Talk about some of the big differences in college and NFL. And is that one of the biggest ones, is that you can find yourself out on an island, out by the sideline with a guy that runs 4.4 and is a trained route runner?
Right. No, I would say that offensively, the scheme and just all the analytics of the NFL, there's so much information that they have and they give you every single week of, if this is the formation that they have, this is the percentage of the times that they run the ball or pass the ball, and in this formation they're going to run a dagger concept or whatever it may be. And so there's so many analytics and there's so many great minds in the NFL, especially with offense coordinators that can really scheme up a defense and put you guys in hard situations. But I think the biggest learning moment for me first getting to the NFL was understanding how much better athletes the offensive linemen are. I mean, in college you might have gone against one, maybe 2 good offensive linemen the entire year. You get to the NFL, those guys can move. They're fast. They can get up to the line. They can block so much better. And that was the biggest learning curve, is just understanding, because the game's going to be faster regardless. And guys, skill positions are going to be better. But in college, you can always have 1 or 2 guys that are decent NFL players or could be NFL players that have good speed and stuff. But often offensive linemen is the biggest difference.
Dude, half of the NFL offensive linemen were like quarterbacks at their high school. Tyler Shatley was a running back. Think about that freight train coming at you.
Right, exactly.
We got to get him
playing tight end, making plays in college and stuff like that.
We talk about that all the time. Like, there's so few offensive linemen that ever the goal was actually to be an offensive lineman.
They all cried when they felt like they got demoted to offensive line. Josh Wells, did you know Josh?
Exactly.
He played quarterback in high school.
He was with Jacksonville for, I think it was last year for a little bit, but then he ended up getting hurt. So I knew him briefly.
Great dude. Yeah. He was a high school quarterback, 10-year offensive tackle in the NFL. High school quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what, hold on, I'm going to ask a Joby question.
Okay, good.
What was the first person that you hit in the NFL? Because Joby asked who you hate to hit, but tell me the first hit that you went, oh, this is a little different. Was it practice or was it game?
No, it was game. My little welcome to the NFL moment was my rookie year. We were playing in the Hall of Fame game, the preseason game. So it's in the whole NFL. There's 2 teams that play it, and it's an extra preseason game. So that year you play 4 preseason games, and we were going against the Raiders. And most teams don't play their starters. They don't play their top guys. But for whatever reason that night, the Raiders were playing their starters, and they had Josh Jacobs back there at running back, and I was starting at linebacker that game and got in there, and it was just a nice little zone play that they had going, and I stepped up into my gap, and it was one-on-one with Josh Jacobs, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to hit this guy right here. I'm going to get him down, and this is Josh Jacobs, and I just got a nice little stiff arm to the ground, throw him, hit my head, hits the ground, and he just keeps on taking off and running. I was like, okay, this is different right now. These guys know how to play. So that was my first little experience of trying to hit someone, trying to make the play that I've made so many times, and understanding that this is a different game here.
I always want to ask this to linebackers. This is the first linebacker we've had on, right?
Yeah.
Is there a part of you that wishes you would have played 30 years ago? Like when it was, RPOs have to be a nightmare for linebackers.
If nothing else, for the sweet neck roll.
Right. I saw somebody the other day. I think Clemson maybe. Somebody who had a neck roll. Yeah.
Right.
There was a time where it's like there's a fullback and he's the lead blocker, and we're just getting dirty with this.
Yeah, you never had more than 6
just
yards.
Straight.
Right.
Yeah, just getting straight power plays the entire game. Not have to worry about dropping back in coverage. If that was the case, I would be about 20 pounds heavier. And you look back at the film of middle linebackers back in the day. They're weighing about 260 pounds. Got the neck roll on, and they're just going straight downhill. They have no coverage ability.
Well, that's what has surprised me about offensive football is because defenses have changed so much. It's not just like he's talking about, he needs 30 more pounds, but it's also the length of all the linebackers compared to back in the day. Back in the day, it used to be short, stocky guys.
Yeah.
So I keep waiting for somebody to go, you know what? We're going to run the old school offense. We're going to put a fullback in. You want a 6'3" linebacker? We're going to put him right in his gut. Right. Yeah, but it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, I think that from a quarterback perspective, what I've heard is one of the biggest adjustments to the NFL is the length of the second level of defense. Is the things that you could just kind of drop in college, you just can't do that anymore.
So at what point did you realize, oh my goodness, I belong in the NFL?
Yeah. No, I think it had to be, a little like I think the first time that I played the Indianapolis Colts on I was strictly playing special teams that game. So I was playing, I forget what game in the year that was, maybe like game 3 of my rookie year. And the first game of my rookie year, I had a couple snaps at linebacker, lots of special teams, and it was my first time. You don't know what's happening. It just seems like everything's coming at you at once. And it wasn't until that Indianapolis Colts game that on kickoff, that was with the old kickoff rules, that I was just screaming, down the field and defeating double teams, splitting the double team and then making a tackle. And I had like 3 special teams tackles that day. And with that and all that success that day, that's kind of when I understood that, if I just play my game and I, go dominate my matchups, there's a good chance that I can, make this play and, make something happen. I belong here, and I trust myself. I trust my speed. I trust, everything that I've worked hard to get to this point. I'm going to be able to do this.
Joey, do you play any instruments or no?
No.
The
radio.
No? Okay. No. You still playing piano? I read this about you.
It's hard. It's hard right now. Yeah, it's hard right now because I don't have my little keyboard with me. It's back home in Colorado, but I in the off season I try to get on the piano a little bit and play some songs here and there.
This guy, I'm telling you, man, this guy's Wikipedia is fantastic. It tells me whoever did this, like they got it right. It tells me all about his basketball career.
Wow.
Which, by the way, can we talk about your Wikipedia for a second? Whoever did this is during the 2016-2017 season. It could have just put he played basketball, but it went 0.9 points per game and 1 rebound and 0.1 assists per games. We're getting down to the 10th.
Those are
here.
some stats right there.
So
those are some stats. You got to put those. you got to put those stats in there when you got the point. The 0 point. You got to make sure you get the point in there.
It's got okay. I got it. So basketball, track, piano. Right? Was that just kind of the way you were raised to be kind of rounded like that, or was that just all things that you were interested in?
Just stuff that I was interested in. The piano. So growing up in my family, we were a big sports family. We were doing all the sports that we could. I have an older brother who's a year older than me, then a younger brother and sister who are twins who are 3 years younger than me, and so we were all very close in age. We were always competing against each other, whether it was playing basketball outside, playing video games, playing cards with one another. We were always just competing in that environment and just always trying to win. And so growing up, that's kind of where the love of sports came from. I first started playing football when I was 5 years old with my older brother, tackle football. He was playing a year older than him, so he's playing with some eight-year-olds, and I was 5 years old. My dad threw me in at practice during Oklahoma drill and gave me the ball. At the time, I was going against 8-year-olds, and I was getting crushed, just smoked over and over and over again. And I was crying. I'm like, I don't want to play football. I want to keep playing soccer because I was playing soccer at the time. And my dad sat me down. He's like, I was 6 years old, and that's the age that you had to be to start playing actual tackle football. He's like, so you want to play soccer or you want to play football? And I was like, man, I really just want to keep playing soccer. I'm starting to get kind of good at that. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I just want to let you know that, I played football. Your uncles all played football. Your grandpa played football. And I was like, you know what? You're right, Dad. I'm going to play some football. And I'm thankful that he had that conversation with me and, pushed me into that a little bit.
Did y'all see that Haynes King interview this weekend? Mm-mm. So they have, College Game Day does the thing where they mic up somebody that's going through their warm-up. And usually that person will take a step aside and do the interview. Haynes King, the quarterback for Georgia Tech, just kept going through his warm-up, throwing the whole time. And one of the questions they asked him was, they're like, where did you get your grit from? He's like, I got my grit from my dad telling me I was a wuss every day of my life. They were like, oh.
There it is.
It was fantastic, man.
Herb Street's like, give me his number. I'll tighten him up.
Right.
All right, now for the real stuff. So you've been married for 1 year-ish?
Yeah, 1 year.
All right, so what have you learned about you in this year? Because marriage is like the left lane of sanctification.
Right. No, exactly. You learn a lot through your wife of, telling all the things that you need to do better and, better man that you can be. But no, I'm like I said before, I was just so thankful, to have a woman like that. And, in college, I remember a few times, just sitting there and, praying to God about, whether, because, you're 18 years old, you don't know anything. And so I just remember just, praying and just asking, for clarity of if, my wife Alyssa was, the one for me, if I should continue to, to pursue her. And every single time, kind of how I got my answer was just my wife being there and my girlfriend at the time, Alyssa, she was just supporting me, and she was just there. If I was down, she was there immediately, and it was like, man, that's crazy that I wasn't even asking for you, and I was praying to God about it, and you answered that. And then it got to the point where I was having all this anxiety about making sure that I had the perfect proposal, and that I got like the things that don't even matter, like she doesn't even care, but I wanted to get like the ring right, I wanted to get all this right. And we had this like little trip out to Hawaii, and I was super anxious about it. I was like, man, I'm gonna screw it all up. I don't know anything about this. And we were on this boat out in the ocean, and we don't even know there's random families on the boat, and we're just having fun out there. It's supposed to be a snorkeling day. Couldn't go snorkeling. We're just going around, and the waves are so choppy, and it's just a crazy day out there. And we're getting off the boat, and this guy we didn't even talk to, he's been on the boat just drinking the entire day. And the thing that he said to me and to my wife, and my wife is like, oh, this guy's just a drunk guy. And I was like, he goes, don't be anxious. Do not worry. God has you. Get married. And it was like, in that moment, it hit me so hard. I was like, that is like, because I was praying about it. I was like, that's all I was thinking about. I was so anxious about it. And he literally said, don't be anxious. God has you. Get married. And it hit me so hard. My wife is like, yeah, exactly. My wife is like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. But it's like little moments like that I've had with my wife that is just like looking back on is
so
just
the guy
so
didn't talk to you all day?
And didn't talk to me all day. That's the only thing he said to us.
Drops that knowledge on you?
That's the only thing he said to me. And I was like, man, all right, I'm not going to worry about this anymore. God has us. I'm going to trust in his plan.
Is your wife there?
She is there. You want me to, grab her?
Come on.
We're doing
okay,
this, huh?
Boss?
Was it Alyssa? Is that what she
Alyssa. Come on, we want to see Alyssa.
Yeah.
Alyssa's cussing you.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my headphone out so she can hear it as well. You want to sit down?
Sure.
Alyssa.
Coming from a little nap.
I don't think we've ever met, have we, Alyssa? Yo, you can tell she loves it.
She loves it.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Alyssa.
Trooper.
Hi.
It didn't take you long to get Colt stuff.
Our dog came
No,
with us.
I'm a supporter, no matter what. No matter what.
So I asked her the same question. So how has Chad changed a year into marriage?
Oh, just marriage. I think stepping into the actual role of a husband, I think a lot of the times I have a very strong personality. And so I think I would take a lot of that and not give him the space to be that role model in our marriage and the leader in our family. And so I think that's been really amazing to see him take that on, and I think a lot of that has to do with him like really taking ownership of his faith over the last 2 years. And so that would be my favorite thing, is like letting him flourish in that, and then getting to take that passenger princess seat sometimes.
It's the best seat.
Passenger princess.
Yeah, man. And that's
coming to a sermon near you.
You don't know you don't know what the passenger princess thing is?
I'm not familiar, but
so when y'all go on trips, Angie tells me about this all the time. When y'all go on trips, you don't have to worry about anything. Literally, she just gets in the truck, and you kind of the story you tell about your dad and fishing, just substitute the wife.
Well, that's definitely Gretchen. One time we were going somewhere, and she was like, "Babe, I love traveling with you," and I thought it was because of me. It's not, because I'm like a million miler 360 Delta. I travel way too much, and so we get all the perks.
Yeah, it makes it easy.
It had nothing to do with me.
It makes it easy. How's life in Indy for you?
It's good. I love the Midwest. I went to school in Nebraska, so it kind of feels like the same thing. It's just a different feeling up here. I'm excited for some seasons. The energy yesterday at the game was unreal, so everything's working out just how it should. I'm pretty sad to leave my community in Jacksonville, but you can always create that, so looking forward to it.
Well, we got Chad's take on the whole, I guess, getting released and then going. What's your take on that? Like, what does that mean for a wife to get that call from your husband and then have to pack up and leave? What's that like as a wife?
I think the hardest thing is in that moment he's being told he's not good enough, and like I can't supplement that for him. I can't do anything about it. It's just like when your spouse gets laid off or fired, like you can't do anything. You can't go and beg for their job back or tackle somebody for them or prove that they're good enough. So that's painful. And then, just calling the moving company, changing your whole life. I don't know. I grew up as a military kid, so I'm used to that aspect. It was more so just being able to pick up the pieces, and I don't know how to fix his mentality, so just trying to be the best that I can for that.
Well, I can tell you, not having to worry about what's happening at home is probably the best gift you could give him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's something that, like I said before, I'm just so thankful for her, because she truly does just run. She runs my life, outside of football. She runs everything, and I'm so thankful for her for that. Plus many other things, but she definitely helps with that.
But that is what she mentioned there. I've never thought about, because it is. I think about like them having to move, and she's got a lot of responsibility in that, and it's not her job and all that kind of stuff. But then the fact that there's the mental part of the person you're married to, that that there's something that they're going through and something they've worked so hard for, that they've been told that, hey, right now we don't want you here. That's got to be very taxing as a wife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to rationalize the scenario too. Like, you can say all day long, I believe in you, I love you, I believe that you're as good as so-and-so, but you can't make them understand that, and then you can't ease that anxiety. They have to find that elsewhere, right? Like, they got to look up to be able to figure that out. So I tried my best. I don't want to do it again, but I will if I have to.
Well, listen, I would say that encouragement on the lips of a wife are gold in the heart of a husband. And if I had to choose whether the Jags wanted me or Gretchen wanted me, I would choose Gretchen every single time.
Exactly. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, dude. And you made it. I mean, now you're still playing in the NFL.
Yeah,
Right.
it's all fine.
Right. And at the end of the day, if I didn't have the NFL, at least if I still had her, I'm amazing.
Yeah, and there is a limit to the NFL. And for you guys, it's till death do you part.
Exactly. And the NFL is not for long, and it doesn't define, who I am as a person or our relationship, or, it's just something that I've been blessed to do in this time, and I'm going to take full advantage of it. And it's something I love doing, but at the end of the day, it doesn't, define who we are, who I am, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you are finished with the NFL, I hope you move back to Duval and, raise babies and all that. This is the best place to raise kids, right here at 1122 Kids Ministry.
It is. It is.
I served in the kids ministry while we were there, and it truly was just the coolest community, especially as a young woman, like learning those things and seeing other women take care of the next generation. It means a lot. So I appreciate y'all.
Well, we'll roll out the red carpet. Not this year when you come back. This year. We hope you go home sad. But I hope you have a good game.
Appreciate that.
Hey, Chad, before we wrap up, I do want to ask you about just kind of that mentality of being a linebacker. And also, we talk all the time about save, not soft, right? And sorry, I'm having some problem with my earpiece here. Talk about that, and from a linebacker perspective, of that may be the hardest position in all of sports as far as physically. Did anything change when you got closer to God, or did you just stay the same savage that you've always been?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that changed for me was just my trust in the Lord and His plan, and understanding that it's not in my control, and just to go out there and not be anxious, and trust fully in whatever His plan is for me. And I think that mentality as a linebacker, you have to be a physical-minded linebacker. You can't go in there not wanting to hit someone. Like, I go out there every single time trying to crush someone, trying to kill someone out there, really. And you have to encourage, I think something that I learned being in the NFL is just being that vocal leader out there as well, and someone that can bring the energy to the team as well. And, there's so much put on a linebacker's plate mentally as far as making the checks, making the calls, and communicating with the whole defense. And that's always kind of been part of my game, and nothing, super that I've had to learn. But, being that physical linebacker is definitely part of it. But, I've truly just these past 3 years just grown to put my full trust in the Lord's plan for whatever it is.
Yeah, I recently have figured out, even in what I'm working, like just the acknowledgement personally that my job doesn't identify me, right? And then to be a 23, 24, 25-year-old, whatever you are, linebacker, probably the most manly position in all of sports, right?
There's no doubt.
Gotta be. Just to have that acknowledgement that game does not define who you are, and regardless of that game, you're here for a purpose much bigger than that. Can't do anything but unlock more potential out of you, correct?
No, definitely. And I think that, having that mindset, and, I think, personally, it's been something that, I've tried, taking advantage of the position that I'm in the NFL to try and affect others and move them in a positive direction, whether it's through, helping younger, athletes that, need some motivation, or some kids with type 1 diabetes that just recently got diagnosed. I think one of the coolest things is, I'm the player now. I've had a couple kids at our camps come up to me like, hey, I just got diagnosed, and I searched NFL players with type 1 diabetes, and your name came up. And that's the same exact experience that I had as a kid growing up. I think, taking advantage of, the position that I'm in currently to, be a positive light for others and help them in their journeys is something that, I'm going to try and do it every single day. And if I can just affect one kid and, make that better, affect one person, have one conversation about God and the gospel and, whatever it may be. If I can do that for one person and get that one more, that's what I want to do.
For anybody listening who wants more information about you guys' foundation, where would they go?
Yeah, you can go to the MumaMovement.com. That's our website. We also have an Instagram page under the same name, Muma Movement, where we, post all of our camp information, what our research is, the funding for research is going towards, and, anything else that you want to speak on with that?
Yeah, we're actually having a sweepstakes right now for kids with type 1 to design his cleats for the My Cause My Cleats game. So you can submit your design.
Submit your design, and then the kid that, wins the design you're coming out to the game for the My Cause My Cleats game, and you'll be able to see the design and, keep the cleats yourself. So we're really looking forward to that as well.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That is fantastic. It's crazy. Like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an NFL linebacker, but God had a different plan. So I appreciate you saying what you said, though, because I get to disciple NFL linebackers now, and I get to do that for a lot longer than I would have ever been able to play. So I appreciate it.
A little less physical, too.
Yeah. I just try to look like one.
Yeah. For sure. Well, guys, we appreciate you guys so much. And if there's ever anything that we can do to help the foundation or anything that you guys need, please don't hesitate to reach out. And, man, let's make this a regular thing. You could be our kind of Colts guy.
Oh, I love it. And I truly appreciate the time and just having us on today and, hearing our story a little bit and, just thankful for everything. Thank you.
Of course.
And Alyssa, good job bringing him to 11:22.
You're welcome.
Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to Built for More. Denny Thompson, Pastor Joby Martin. We'll be back soon.